Hey, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I just want to go over some news which come out over here in the UK. Pretty much the just like America, the UK is through, and the people of the UK are through. Okay, because ultimately, see, what people need to understand is that the so-called white man, the elites of the so-called white man don't play fair, and they don't believe in sharing. All right, their economy, the economies and the economics which they have set up in all their countries and throughout all the countries has one purpose and one purpose only. All right, to produce the core materials for the system they want to create, and to redistribute all wealth and power to themselves. And this is a fact. Alright, this is how their economy is designed. And it's a very complex system that they have created with all these different corporations and governments and taxes and the price fixing and everything put together in the economy equates to the control of wealth and the distribution of wealth. Okay, it's all set up, and for a time they have allowed a middle class to exist because it suited their purposes for their agenda. But now they don't need that middle class anymore, so they're gonna get rid of it, and that's what you see happening in the economy. And ultimately, they're gonna completely reset the system, and all wealth and property is gonna be confiscated, and it's gonna belong to the state and the private bankers, and that's it. And everyone else is just gonna be a slave. That's their agenda. That's their agenda, and people don't understand this. All right, that's why I hear you see NHS nurses were using food banks. Okay, NHS staff are relying on food banks and loan sharks because of low wages, and they ain't the only ones. Okay, and this is supposed to be a government job. It's supposed to be a good job. Restricted to by pay caps, the survey reveals they are having to pawn possessions and ask family and friends for handouts. The poll of 21,000 workers, including nurses, paramedics, and support staff, shows 1 in 10 has taken out a high-interest payday loan in the past 12 months, and 2/3 are worse off than they were a year ago. And they ain't the only ones. Alright, a lot of people over in the UK are hurting, and they don't understand why. They're confused. Well, the reason is it's all by design. Okay, Esau is redistributing the wealth. Wealth doesn't disappear. Okay, he knows exactly what he's doing in his system. It's designed that way. Okay, here you have it in London. It says save for 121 years to buy a flat in London. A typical Londoner will have to save for 121 years to get onto the property ladder. The average salary in the capital is 34,000, which I'm telling you, most people are not earning nowhere near 34,000. When they say average salary, that don't mean that people are anywhere near that. With banks generally lending buyers up to 4 times this figure, this means an individual can get a loan of around 137,000 to put towards buying their first home, but the average house price in the capital is 457,000. As a result, prospective home buyers will need to save around 320,000 to be eligible for a mortgage. If they put away 10% of their net salary each month, they will have to save for more than a century, according to a study. And this is the thing, and even this is bullshit. First of all, this man's society is based upon debt, it's based upon taxes and levies. Okay, oppression. When you go into the scriptures, the holy scriptures, when the Lord set up the children of Israel, he gave them capital and he gave them land. Okay, land ownership. Okay, if you ain't got that, it's oppression. Okay, you ain't supposed to be paying no mortgage, and you ain't supposed to be relying on paying rent. When you got a society where that's what's going on, then you know you're in a society which is controlled and based upon oppression. And that's the society we live in, man. The majority of people in London, pretty much everyone I know, they have no chance of ever paying to have the right to live in a house. Because even when you pay for that mortgage, the house ain't yours because you don't even have the allodial title. So this place is through. But it's by design. This is how they set it up to be. And let's get the scriptures on that. This is Hosea 12:7. It says, he is a merchant. The balances of deceit are in his hand. He loveth to oppress. And this is beginning, right, this applies right now to the so-called white man. He's a merchant. He's a very cunning man when it comes to manipulating business, to manipulating economics, to control the masses. That's why there's a saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And people think it's an accident or something. No, this is an agenda. This is a system which is carefully controlled. All right, and ultimately, the who's the biggest losers within that economic system? You Israelites. You're the ones that are in the lowest socio-economic status, and you always gonna be there because in the economy, you ultimately are not in a position to benefit from any industry within the economy. There is not one industry where you Israelites dominate. You work in those industries. You are human resources within those industries, but you don't own those industries. Okay, that's why, like, they put up these rappers and these entertainers. Well, them entertainers, they're not the main ones making money. Denzel Washington is not the actors are not the main ones making money out of Hollywood. The producers and the guys investing the money are the ones making most of the money. It's just like in the NBA. You think the NBA players are making the most money out of the NBA? Are you out your damn mind? Who you think's making more money? The owner of the team or the players? And then when those players get the money, what do they have to go spend the money on? When they buy things, they're buying things from within Esau's industries. They're not buying anything from an industry which is dominated by you so-called Negroes. So the money goes to that Negro and then goes to a bunch of Edomites and trickles its way back up to the elites. That's how it works. That's exactly how it works. That's why they don't mind letting a nigga get a certain amount of money, because they know that when he goes to buy that car, Mercedes Benz is getting that money. BMW is getting that money. When he goes to buy his clothes, so-called jewelry, it always is going, because they control all the industries. It's an economy. It's designed that way. And they've even designed it to take money from their own people and redistribute it up. That's how it works, man. And I could sit here like literally for hours and give you examples of how they do little things to make sure that the money goes back to them. Even government itself is a way for them to not only get the masses of the people in debt, but to also redistribute wealth to them, because they get the big government contracts and all that stuff. Like over here in the UK, why the hell does all the school computers have to pay Microsoft to have Microsoft on all their computers? Why don't they just use an open source system, and they'll save all that money? Because they're not about that. They want the money to be redistributed through Microsoft, and then through Microsoft then it ends up back to the elites. That's how it works. Okay, this is James 5:4. It says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Because this whole system is based upon fraud, man. Fraudulent activities, man. Like over here in London with the LIBOR scandal. Fraud. They were siphoning billions out of the world economy every year, and nobody went to jail. But a nigga go steal some ice cream in a riot in London, and he gets 5 years in jail. It's crazy. Crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, which means armies. Yeah, because the beginning with the Israelites, man, they're suffering with the bills and all these things. Jake is suffering, man. That's why Jacob got to basically do all kind of crazy shit to exit his reality. Because the reality is that Jacob been suffering, and they been suffering from the beginning, and they're still suffering now. Jake dread to hear letters coming in through that letterbox, because it's nothing but bills, it's nothing but problems, and Jake ain't got a leg to stand on, man. Jake is not coming from a socio-economic position of having any capital or having anything in their own. The only thing Jake has is his hands. The only thing that Jake has is, I can work for you, white man, so you can pay me. Jake is a natural born wage slave in this system, because they're born into a condition where they have no capital. You have nothing, so the only thing you have is your hands. That makes you a slave. That makes you dependent on the person who does have capital, who does have resources for you to work on. And then when you work on them, because there's so much competition within that, they can pay you whatever the hell they want and rip you off. And that's what they do. So you work hard and long hours, and they reap all the benefits. That's what's going on out here, man. Whereas, hey, like I said, when the Lord set Israel up in the land of Israel, we had capital. When you were an Israelite, you were born knowing that you were going to inherit one day piece of land, cattle, something. You were going to have something that you could work on. In this kingdom, most you're going to inherit is debt. You know what I'm saying? You got to work with your hands. You got a slave to Esau. You got to run to him. And that's why we're in the socio-economic status that we in, man. All right. Oh, yeah, this is Sirach 4:1. It says, my son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. All right. Because the Israelites, we've worked the hardest out of any people within Esau's kingdom, and we've got the least benefits. That and if you wait long, we've been waiting to get what's ours. But that's alright, because it wasn't meant for Esau to give us anything anyway. It says, make not an hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. Add not more trouble to an heart that is vexed. Not only do Jake have to live in poverty and live poor, and have to work 3 times as hard to do or get the same any recognition at all, but then he's got to deal with all the other shit, the harassment, the white supremacy as a whole, the everything, man. It says, reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away thy face from the poor man. And that's what the so-called white man has done. He turns away his face from the poor man and acts like, oh yeah, yo, I'm trying to. He ain't trying to fix shit, man. Esau ain't trying to fix shit. He don't give a fuck. You Jakes are good where you're at, according to Esau, as long as you're serving a purpose to uplift him. As soon as you don't serve a purpose, man, he looking to get rid of you, which that's been on the agenda for a while now. It says, turn not away thine eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer shall be heard of him that made him. And that's what we're doing. We're cursing the so-called white man. And the Lord's is hearing that. And he's going to begin to bring them down, beginning with the elites. You're going to be brought down. Alright, this is Psalms 10:8. It said, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, in the secret places he doth murder the innocent. So, okay. His eyes are privily set against the poor. Esau, his whole agenda is to kill, to murder, to manipulate, to oppress the poor. And he does this privately. That's why most people just don't understand the systems of control which is set up over them. They don't understand it, because Esau makes it complicated and convoluted, and Jake just don't get it. Jake don't even understand the tax system. Jake don't understand anything. Jake don't even understand how the actual money, the fiat currency, that the dollar bills they worship, even work, and how even that in itself is oppression. You understand what I'm saying? They don't understand economics. Jake don't understand what is really going on. So it's like a private thing. It's a secret thing. All they know is Esau saying, oh, I'm going to help, I'm going to help, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. But they don't actually know how this thing actually works, how it's an agenda that's keeping them in the condition that they're in. Alright, so his eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. Okay, they set up all kind of traps for Jake, man, physically and economically. Okay. Hey, Jake. As soon as Jake gets some money, man, Esau's always thinking about ways to take that money from him, man. Hey, don't you know that when these NBA stars, man, there's all kind of Edomites just out there waiting to be their manager, so they could take all of that. That's why Floyd Mayweather's stupid ass talking about how he fucking with them white boys in Goldman Sachs. Floyd, you gonna see what's gonna happen. All them dollars that you got and everything that you've invested, they've invested your money, and that's already been set up to be taken from you, man. You've fallen into a net, my man, and you don't even know it, man. You shouldn't let you. First of all, man, you, I wouldn't have none of them Edomites anywhere near anything I got, because I already know what time it is. They're setting you up to take what you got, and they don't give a back. They send your ass back to the ghetto with nothing. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. Okay. Oh, we're coming to help you, you know, blah blah blah. Even the whole welfare state, and it was a setup. Okay. He have said in his heart, God hath forgotten, he hideth his face, he would never see it. You know, but the Lord is going to see what they're doing out here to Jake, because Jake is the main ones that are getting messed over in this man's system. This is Psalms 12:5 said, for the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy, now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at them. Because not only do they want to grind Jake economically down into the dirt, but ultimately the ultimate agenda for them is to microchip and then depopulate you Jakes, man. And that's always been on the agenda. That's an agenda going way back, man. You ever heard of Rex 84, King Alfred's plan? You ever heard of Margaret Sanger? That's always been on an agenda ever since you Jakes started growing in population, and they started needing your labor less and less. You surplus to requirements. They got robots now. They don't need you Jakes no more. They don't need you, man. Esau is not a humanitarian, man. He doesn't believe in that. And you're going to find that out whether it's Hillary Clinton or Trump. They're going to serve the agenda. And the big part of the agenda is the mass depopulation of you Israelites. Alright? Okay. Did I want to go into the next stuff? Oh, yeah, there's some stuff on the Brexit, you know. They're still stalling on that Brexit. That is non-existent Brexit. The great Brexit, which hasn't happened yet. They're stalling because, you know, they got what they wanted out of it. You know, the turbulence, the uncertainty. The next step is the economic collapse and war. You know, that's how that's gonna go down. But yeah, man. Hey, this society, man. That's how it's set up, man. And the people are getting there's more and more pressure on the people every day, man. Like financially, economically, we're screwed out here, man, by this devil, and that's by design. It's not an accident. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom.